Oh, there's the $1,000,000 question. There's a lot of things going on in the supply chain in terms of improvements. I think it's fair to say we've all heard a lot around chip shortages and that's been in the press now for a long time. And that there are steps being made in the supply chain to overcome those challenges. You've got Intel, all the major CPU manufacturers. They're building additional fabrication.
That's part of our USB as well, opening up that supply side to the buyers, and overcoming those challenges and problems and frustrations that the buy side has. And ultimately, when we did our research, that was all around the inefficiency of the supply chain, which was restricting growth and opportunity for suppliers.
I think we've probably got realistically another 6 months to go until we start to see much more normality.
Welcome to another episode of the Making It Happen podcast by Sims International. I'm very excited today to be joined by a long-time partner, long-time customer, an industry stalwarts in Ian Nethercott and Matt Royal from Probrand. Ian is the supply chain director at Probrand and has been in a role a long time, although when you see him, you wouldn't have thought that. And Matt holds the role of the marketing director. And we're going to be covering some pretty interesting topics today. There's a lot of exciting stuff happening at Probrand, and I think they've got a great story to tell. So before we get started, welcome chaps. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Yeah, all good. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having us. We're really pleased to be here. So yeah, great.
Yeah, we're all good. Ready to fire away.
Ready to fire away. Well, thank you on behalf of Sims. I know, as I said before, the story is a fascinating one and it's exciting. I think our audience will really enjoy it. So before we get into that, if you could just introduce yourself, your roles, and what it is that Probrand do to those that don't know, please.
Yeah, sure. I'll start. I'll do my intro then. I guess Matt. So I'm Ian Nethercott. I'm supply chain director for Probrand. As you said, Kevin, I've been in the business now almost 19 years, so quite a long time. So I've seen a lot of changes in both Probrand and the industry. But yeah, I look after everything supply chain really. So in terms of our vendor and distribution, commercial partnerships, obviously our internal procurement and category management teams, customer services and logistics. So yeah, quite a bit of involvement I have across the spectrum of the business. So
an extremely busy schedule, I should imagine, and knowing you as I have done for many years, I would say you do all of those at full speed all the time as well. So
pretty much, yeah. I've got a drawer of a fair few hats I have to put on from time to time. So yeah, it's all good fun. Keeps us busy. So
and importantly, he seems to have retained his good looks and hair colour, which something can't be said for me.
Well, and it helps that if you start with those things as well.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So my name Matt Royal. I'm the marketing director over at Probrand, looking after the full suite, covering everything from brand through corporate comms over into lead generation, and that is online and offline. So multi-channel, multi-touch approach to acquiring and retaining customers, really.
Great, thank you. And if I could ask, could you just give an overview on Probrand in terms of the product services and the markets that you address?
Yeah, well, I kind of, it's a good question, that, and what I'd like to do is maybe go a step further than just explaining what we do, because I guess the part of the reason for us being on the podcast is all about we're changing a few things up and we're disrupting the market, which is really, really positive. So we're a 30-year business, privately held, which is quite unique in our sector. And traditionally we were an IT reseller, selling hardware and software lines. And then a couple of years ago, we decided that actually we needed to look a lot more closer at the end user community in terms of we'd spotted some changes, we'd spotted some dynamics, and ultimately what we found was that we've got the rise of online marketplaces, which is changing how people buy. We all on this call, everybody who's listening will be familiar with going online and buying, researching and buying, right? But B2B buyers now want this kind of consumer style process, but with B2B pricing and policies and procedures to match into whatever their corporate entity looks like. And we also looked in and discovered, complexity of the supply chain is causing a lot of frustration out there, inefficiency with both buyers and suppliers. And that's really delivering high cost of sale because you've got manual human intervention at every step of that. And that's ultimately delivering poor value for IT buyers, but they might not necessarily have known about that. And then the last piece of the jigsaw really is volatility, and volatility in particular around price and stock, and that means that IT buyers, whether they're IT people or procurement people, are wasting huge swathes of time and money trying to just keep up with the market. And it's to that story where we then repositioned and pivoted the business to, capture that opportunity and use it as an opportunity to digitize what we saw was a market ripe for it. And as a result of that, we launched what is the first B2B marketplace dedicated to selling IT products and services, connecting that IT buying community openly and transparently with the distributor and vendor community. And that really, when you cut out all of the story and everything I just talked about there, it's really about taking that hassle, pain and frustration out of IT purchasing to save people time and money. So we're saving people time and money buying products and services, and we've got a bunch of features geared towards that, basically. So I hope that answers your question, Kevin, there, because I know it's quite a long answer to a very short question, but I think it's important to take people on that journey, because we've not just come up with this and said, oh, we're going to go online and launch a web shop, because we're fundamentally not a web shop.
No, it certainly does. And I think actually a lot of the points you've kind of raised there, I know we're going to go into more detail as we kind of explore those throughout the podcast. I guess as an overview, a little bit about Probrand. I know you mentioned you're privately owned, around 50 million turnover. I assume you address maybe private and public sectors, maybe, was it 3,500, north of 3,500 customers?
Yeah, it's 3,500 customers. We've got best part of 150 employees. 63% of those work in the services side of the business. Yeah. Remembering that we've got a catalogue of 300,000 hardware and software lines, but we also have the other side of the business, which is services, cloud solution, managed IT services and cloud solutions. And we have best part of a team of 50 in-house technical engineers, which, a lot of people forget that we necessarily have. Public sector and private sector, 50-50 split, but we're very much focused in on the mid-market. And how do we define mid-market? Well, it's generally speaking 30 users plus, up to about the 500 sweet spot. Yeah. Those companies who have an IT team, but also those companies that don't have an IT team, and then into the larger enterprise space, public and private sectors being where there's more procurement people in there.
Brilliant, thank you. And I guess going back a touch, you mentioned a catalogue of over 3,000 different items at any time, 300,000 different items at any time. Yeah. And I guess helpfully we've got a veteran in the supply chain side of things in Ian with us, and a celebrity in his own right. So the last 3 years in particular, especially around electronic components, I know have been very tough. We're in that market ourselves, and I know it expands far beyond memory. Could you give us a short overview on kind of what you've seen from your business, and why? I've seen some really important information that you've been communicating, what it is you've been doing and how you've been helping your customers around these supply challenges.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's been a pretty tough time, it's fair to say, from a supply chain point of view. I think I'm kind of known as Mr. Doom and Gloom, I think, in the organisation now, because it feels like for the last few years I've only ever had bad news. It's like, well, we've now got lockdowns in China. We've now got a ship stuck in the Suez Canal. We've now got this. We've now got the other, and it's just been one bad story after the other, and it's been, there's no two ways about it, it's been super challenging from a supply chain point of view, and it still is. We're far from out of the woods yet. I think we are, from an IT supply chain point of view, we are in a better situation than we were 6-12 months ago, for sure. There is that light at the end of the tunnel is getting bigger, but we still have a lot of constraints in a whole number of categories, and I think we, right back from the beginning, we really put ourselves forward in terms of educating our customers around what those supply chain challenges were, but more importantly, how can we help them overcome those challenges? What guidance and advice can we offer to business end users out there in how to circumvent these problems the best way we can? I mean, we're all in the same problem, but it was just, I guess, advising customers in terms of what those tactics and strategies might be to overcome some of those problems. And so we, I think very early on, we were recognized as a, very much an industry face, I think, from a supply chain point of view. We were on BBC Newsnight, ITV News at 10, and a whole raft of articles, Financial Times, and which was great for us and our brand, but it was great for our customers to start to recognize us as a true trusted advisor, really. And we actually came to a point where we had customers kind of coming to us saying, what's the latest news? They actually genuinely came forward proactively to us and said, can you give us the latest insights, what's going on, which is great, which is great for us. So we're offering some true value out there to customers in terms of what the reality is, what the state of the nation is out there from a supply chain point of view. So, and we absolutely continue to do that. We do a lot of work with supply chain publications in the world of SIPs, which obviously are the global recognized body for procurement professionals. We do a lot of work with them in their supply chain magazines and various sort of articles that I put a lot of press pieces out there to again, just to continually help sort of IT buyers, as I say, overcome these challenges, really. So,
and that's really interesting. And I think just to touch on a point you made there, then, so lots of information, transparent communication to customers from suppliers and with customers, and lots of publications, lots of information readily available. How did you find that customers actually changed? Obviously, you said, they came to us, they asked for more information. Did it change their buying patterns in any way, or how you service them?
I think it has, because I think because we've been very transparent in terms of the genuine issues out there. They start to build that trust very quickly in us, and as I say, see us as that trusted advisor. And actually, they employ some of the strategies we give them guidance and advice around. For example, we were encouraging customers to start to be a lot more flexible in their choices, because we're in a position where nobody could be too choosy in terms of what brand and exactly what product we want, because if that brand and product is in super constraint for months and months away, then we need to start educating them in, okay, look, there's other technologies, other brands that you need to consider. And we did see some of that. We did see, and we still do, see customers who do take that guidance on board when, and there has been a lot of, I think, bridges burnt out there that we've seen with customers and some of their existing suppliers, because they've just been given false information. They've had fabricated details, just for somebody to take an order. They'll say, we'll get that in a couple of weeks, and actually it's just nonsense. When we get to them and say, well, look, this is the reality, these are going to be in constraint for the next 6 months, and because of this reason, and because this component is in shortage, and when you can actually give them the meat to the bone in terms of all of that information, they're like, oh, right, okay, these guys know what they're talking about, I better listen and do what they're advising, kind of thing. So
I suppose, sorry, Matt, I suppose from that side, it just helps with an informed purchase decision and actually longer cycles and better planning.
Ultimately, I mean, it's I think we've been through a time where businesses need to plan much further ahead than what they ever have before. When we've got some products now that we're being given like 300-400 day lead times for. It's just unbelievable, absolutely crazy, but that is the reality that we're in. So we've been telling customers a lot that, you need to start now thinking about what's your IT procurement strategy for the next 12, 18, 24 months. That's how far out you've got to plan. Because if all of a sudden you're going to come and place an order and you go, yeah, look, it's a year's lead time, it completely throws their whole business plans and strategy out and things like this. So we're encouraging customers to get into much deeper strategic conversations much earlier than what they ever have before, which and I think we're seeing that. We're seeing customers who are taking that on board for sure. And yeah, that's just the world that we're in now, really. So
no, that's perfect. And Max, sorry, is there anything to add from your side to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we went through a period where we saw a cycle of people, as Ian was saying there, potentially being let down by other suppliers. But we'd have customers place an order with us. It would go on to essentially a back order because it was in constraints. Customers would then change their mind. Oh, I can get it from elsewhere. So, and it's like, okay, well, hang on a sec. Just think about this, because once you leave, you're essentially joining the back of the queue. You've got to realize that, and away they go. And then they come back because they've then been let down by somebody else. And I think something that really underpins our credibility as a business is the fact that we can show people the data that we're talking, upon which we're talking about, and as Ian says, that builds our credibility as a trusted advisor. So that cycle of people just trying to get whatever they can possibly get from anywhere has seen them place an order with us, move away, and then come right back around again and say, actually, yeah, you guys are right. Can I jump back in? Well, you've got to join the back of the queue.
Yeah, and I think actually, even in our experience, we don't manage by anywhere near the same amount of products that you do at your end, but even on our side, what we've seen is an increased loyalty as a result of actually open communication. Yeah. As long as it's transparent, as long as it's open, as long as it's clear, I think that does foster loyalty. So it's great to hear that you've had success in that. Ian, from your side, what does the future hold around supply challenges? When are we likely to see an end of it?
Oh, there's the $1 million question. if only I knew. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in the supply chain in terms of improvements. I think it's fair to say we've all heard a lot around chip shortages and that's been in the press now for a long time, and that there are steps being made in the supply chain to overcome those challenges. You've got Intel, all the major CPU manufacturers, they're building additional fabrication facilities to get up to speed with the demand, in the market and things like this. But obviously these things take time. You can't build a load of factories and start production and get the output going. It takes months, even a couple of years and so on. So there's things that are happening in the background that are bubbling away to help start reducing these problems down. I think logistics is getting into a better shape than what it was. I mean, there's been a whole raft of challenges just from a logistics point of view. Obviously, more locally, we've had Brexit to contend with as well. But obviously with the pandemic, there's been a whole raft of challenges right across the globe with shortages with sea freight and air freight and so on and so forth. That's absolutely in a getting into a better situation now, and that's recognized that we're starting to see prices of containers come down to where they were. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, we got to that a container was like $25,000 to ship a container from China, which is just bonkers. It used to be $4,000 or $5,000 or something, pre-pandemic. So, but that's coming much, back down to a much more reasonable level now. I think we're probably somewhere between $7,000 and $10,000 a container or something. So that, there's the signs that these sorts of things are improving and getting back to normal. I think we've probably got realistically another 6 months to go until we start to see much more normality. I think there's a lot of improvements in certain categories that were in a lot of constraints 6-12 months ago. I mean, we saw, just standard laptops and monitors and these kinds of products were in heavy constraint. There's a lot more availability now in standard device and things like that. It's other niche categories now that we're seeing specific constraints in. switching in infrastructure categories is absolutely one of those problems still. And other pockets of areas, dotted around the product set. But I think we're probably 4 to 6 months away until we start to see more, a lot wider spread normality, I guess, across the supply chain. And that's just an opinion, because it is very, very difficult to kind of know and forecast these problems. There's all sorts of component shortages, raw material shortages, and a whole manner of different reasons as to what's causing these problems. So but yeah, it's getting better. It's getting better for sure. It's not all doom and gloom anymore. But yeah, hopefully I think by the turn of the new year, hopefully we'll have a fresh start and start to see a lot more positivity in other areas, I think.
So, and I guess the advice there is, look, if you're going to need components, if they're not widely available, speaking to a Probrand, speaking to businesses that can give you the information you need on the state of the market, state of supply, what's happening and when to expect stuff is probably the best advice. So I guess we've probably covered as much of the supply chain as we can without probably talking for another day or so. So let's move on, because obviously I know we've got certainly from a program side of things. I'm a big, and I think I said when we last spoke, I'm a big fan of kind of old game, new game, and I believe there's this disruptive marketplace that Matt was talking to us about earlier. It is something that certainly you're investing in, and I think has a place in the market. So we covered a little bit of the backstory behind why a marketplace. Matt, could you go into any more details around exactly what the marketplace is and how it's working?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned before, we're essentially disrupting the market by openly connecting those two key communities, IT buyers with distributors and vendors. And with that, and out of that research that I mentioned earlier, people want to save time. They want to go to one location, search 300,000 SKUs, whether it's products and services, including cloud services, see live price and stock, particularly stock level at the moment, where stuff isn't constrained, like Ian was saying before. And reassure people that it's supply chain level data. So we give them that in our marketplace, show people real-time price comparison across all of these different suppliers, the disties and vendors, which again is giving people that assurance and trust level with us. They want to automatically see personalized discounts, whether they're in health versus education. We all know that certain SKUs match certain categories, and also there's different pricing for different sectors. So there's deals that we pass through that people are entitled to that otherwise they might not know actually exist, which is really interesting, because that is a major frustration for suppliers as well as IT buyers.
Yeah.
They want those deals and discounts, that disties and vendors, like yourselves, are creating for a specific audience. They want to know that, I'm in education, I want to be able to see a specific discount tailored to me in my sector. So we show that and share that through. We've got digital advisors and configurators, that make finding the right solution and configuring the right solution, whether it's a managed firewall or a Surface bundle. We enable people to do that really quickly. And then the final piece really is about customization. So perhaps you're in a larger organization, you have a specific need around your procurement piece, we can integrate with systems, integrate with ERP systems. We can add custom automation and processes, add custom catalogs, maybe even add additional categories if you wanted to. And that's all, particularly for the procurement space, that's all about governance and control and all that kind of good stuff, But the marketplace really stems out of this. I mean, I mentioned before about the backstory. It stems out of the fact that people want change. People are seeing they're not necessarily getting the deals that they're entitled to, or worse, the deals they thought they were getting. And we're being really disruptive, right, in going out and saying, well, we agree with you, and here are some of the margins that you've paid. And yeah, we agree. It is time for change. There is time time for a new way, and that's where we're disrupting the market, and that's really exciting.
I think it is. So on the marketplace side of things, I guess marketplace concept isn't new. I think as consumers, we're all used to that. I think the disruptive part for me is the approach that the business is taking, certainly around the areas that other marketplaces can't address. as you say, around the accreditations and around the framework. So just talk to me about how you would implement the specific frameworks within the marketplace for those industries and businesses that rely on them.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's quite straightforward. Ian will probably give you a more technical response, but from my perspective, when you register for the marketplace, which of course is free to register and use, we get you to define which sector you're in, and we go through various checks to just acknowledge that as well. And then when you log in, say you're a school, you log in and automatically you will have all of the relevant pricing and catalogues matched to you in your sector. So you will automatically start to see any framework prices, any special discounts and all that kind of good stuff. It's Ian's team that sets all that up in the background, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely right. So I mean, I guess just to add on to that. So we have, this I guess is goes back to one of the core piece of functionality in the platform in terms of solving one of the major problems that exists and still does exist out there in the IT marketplace. So we've effectively invested millions into a very complex data management engine that drives the kind of the back office of the platform, and that data management engine really is designed for scale. So it's designed to take data sources from multiple supply chain points, and we effectively take highly complex price files. We pull them into this data management engine, and that goes through a churn of aggregation of data. So effectively, we look at I suppose the best analogy is look at what sort of Go Compare does for car insurance. We're doing a very similar thing for IT. So we look across all of those price files, we identify where there's matches in product, and then we aggregate those together and we publish those on the front end interface of the platform. So we have a front engine of a price comparison display, but then over and above that then is where we take these kind of frameworks and sector discounted price files. So there's a whole raft of these that exist in the supply chain, and we put a lot of investment into collating and drawing in all of those price files as well, every single month or every quarter, or however often these things are published by the vendors. They also churn through the same data management engine. So it means that actually from a customer's point of view, they have the best of both worlds, because they have all of their sector discounts they're entitled to, and that's also compared with all the standard channel prices that exist as well. So they've got the best of both worlds. So they actually get a true out and out kind of price comparison engine for every single product across the platform. As we said, I think at the beginning, there's 300,000 products this is run across. But it's completely scalable. So in terms of those supply chain points that we extract data from, we could have 1 million products in the platform. It makes no difference to the load on our system and how that works. So we run all of that price comparison on a system called Delta. So we have a genuine live connection between our server and all the distributor servers, and we're doing constant live calls throughout the day to look for the changes in stock and price. So every time we recognize a change, we update that singular change in our system. So it means we're not having to refresh complete price files every time. You just physically couldn't churn through that data quick enough. So we work on a system called Deltas, and we just look for these changes and pull those changes into the system. So we're as genuinely as live as what the channel can be, and which I guess going back to the supply chain problems is that functionality alone has come into its own now, because everyone's after stock. Stock has been an absolute nightmare for everybody. Whenever stock is there, it goes very quickly, and things like that. So having that live stock functionality in there has genuinely been a lifesaver for a lot of customers, because they know they can go into our platform. They've got a complete broad view of all of the stock across the whole IT channel, and they can capture that stock there and then. So that, I guess, just a bit of a, bit more of an insight in terms of how the back end of the system works and how we manage to do that. But it's it's a huge USP in the platform and the solution, and that's one of the reasons why it's fundamentally different to a traditional e-com platform out there. It's a true platform that, I think, as Matt says, connecting a buying community to a supplier community. And we're not a traditional web shop. It's not somewhere you just land on. You put in your credit card details and buy. There's so much more going on behind the scenes, and so much more value we're giving back to the customer that it's solving a lot of problems that they have today, really. So.
Yeah, and I think that that's an important story, that you affectionately call it the back end, but I think it's important for businesses to understand, actually, that this is inherently different. It is innovative in terms of the market that you're in, and it is serving a different purpose to, as you said, traditional web shops. And I understand it's kind of aimed at SMB up to medium-sized enterprises, but I also understand from the conversation we had before that you're attracting quite a lot of interest from large enterprises as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've got a very, very compelling proposition in the platform for large enterprise clients. And the reason being is that, what we see a lot in the industry is that there's a lot of disorganization from a procurement point of view in large organizations. They've got large buying teams traditionally. They've got buying teams who are going off, I guess, down their own avenues and buying from a whole raft of different places, not necessarily buying at the best rates. They've just got I suppose a lack of control over IT procurement. And obviously IT, as we know, is a highly complex category. It's always going to be one of the largest areas of indirect spend for any organization. So when you couple those things together, we've got a solution that answers that problem. So we've got a whole raft of functionality in the platform that gives an enterprise customer all of that control over their IT, because it means that they can have a structured catalog in there. It might be the fact that that organization doesn't want 300,000 products. They've got 500 SKUs that are approved by their business, and those are the things they buy, and that's fine. We can give them a profile that segregates their catalog and gives them a set catalog they want. That's coupled with all their pre-approved discounts. With whatever pricing agreements they've got with the vendors and things like that. We put all that inside their profile as well, and they've got all the controls over their users. So it means that they can set spend limits against their users. They can have approval processes, whatever workflows they want to achieve that suits their strategy. They can build that throughout the platform. So even things like setting authorized delivery locations, and there's a whole bunch of things that they can do. So it gives them that control, allows them to centralize their procurement through an approved source. And ultimately they're buying at the best value. They've got time saving efficiencies. So there's so many benefits there to a large organization. So it's absolutely give us an inroad into that scale of company, and we're seeing a lot of success around that. We've now got a lot of large organizations who are turning to our platform because it's great timing what's going on in the world as well. Businesses want to digitally transform. They want to be more efficient. And we recognized digital as a way forward many years ago. So I think from a digital perspective, I'd certainly say we've led from the front. From that perspective, we're genuinely probably 3 or 4 years ahead of the competition out there in terms of where we're at from a digital perspective. And that's just the way the world has gone. We recognize that people want to do things digitally. They want to be more efficient. They need to be more efficient. So the platform answers a lot of those problems, really. So.
And I guess just touching on Matt's point as well, linked to that, that's where the customization is really coming into its own. The ability to be able to customize this software, make it fit for purpose for the target audience or for the particular client that you're speaking to becomes really important.
And I think from a customization point of view, we purposely built the platform in a low code rapid application sort of platform, which means that everything is from a workflow point of view, we can customize things really quickly. So if we want to change up something, a particular process in the checkout process or on the product page, or wherever it is across the site, we can generally do it in a lot of instances, even within minutes. We're not relying on developers to go and recode something or whatever. It's built on a unique platform that allows us to customize and change those workflows really quickly. But we can spin up unique versions of the platform for customers if they want a specific experience, whether that be based on their sector, whether that be based on the sorts of products they want to see, or a whole number of different things. We can give them a unique version, a unique flavor of that platform very quickly. So it's absolutely a speed to market sort of concept, and a great compelling proposition for us, really, that's really attractive to our customers. So
I was just going to mention, actually, one trend that we certainly saw and we've continued to see since, to support hybrid or home working, is that a lot of procurement departments had challenges with regards to sending corporate kit, if you will, hardware, software, whatever it was, to end users' homes.
Yeah.
So we were very quickly able to pivot and customize instances for several customers who were, say, giving their end users, say, 150 quid a head, 200 quid a head, whatever the figure was, so that end users could go and choose what kit they wanted. What does their home working environment look like from a technology perspective? Go fill your boots, buy it, and indeed set up and have it delivered to your home environment, but still enabling the procurement team to have that control. So they were able to do what they call delegate the procurement down to an end user level, which relieved the burden on the procurement team, but ultimately gave them the control to still manage that control, and as well as deliver the savings. So we continue to see organizations come to us and say, we've got this challenge, and we're like, yeah, no problem, and we can do that and move to deliver that for people very quickly.
And I guess that's a really important story, actually, because it's I think we probably all agree that the new norm is some form of hybrid working moving forwards. Users aren't always going to be office bound in perhaps the way they were before. So how do you handle in that instance then those customer requirements where there is elements of integration, or there is a solution being offered as opposed to standalone components? Is that something that you manage in-house?
Yeah, I mean, we've got, obviously, it's quite clear we're a very digitally led business, but from a certainly from a solutions point of view, we've got a lot of resource that backs that up. So I think, as Matt touched on, we're a heavily service orientated business. We have our own engineers, we have our own support desk people, we have our own pre-sales technical consultants, we have our own logistics facility as well, which I think is really important. There's a lot of IT suppliers out there don't. They completely rely on distribution to do all logistics, but it means that we can offer a lot of other value-added services that a lot of our competitors can't. Where we can use our own facility to do pre-configuration, stock holding, scheduled rollouts, asset management services. There's a whole bunch of things that we can do. But actually, we also enable our customers to still procure those solutions and services digitally through the platform as well, and it's their choice. So they can have service catalogs inside the platform to procure those solutions. If we've got a pre-configured setup sort of solution that we're running for a customer, they can effectively procure that as a line item, really, in the platform, and in the back end. We pull together all the pieces of the puzzle, if you like, to build that solution out. So yeah, we've got there's a lot of other services that we offer that goes on behind the scenes, and I think it's important that our customers are aware of that, and we do make them that visible. When a customer logs into the platform, they have some great contact features in there. There's they have live connections with their internal account managers. They have all the right phone numbers in there if they need to speak to people. They can raise support tickets in the platform. There's all these things we've enabled customers to do to be able to fulfill these kinds of solutions. So.
Yeah, and I think it sounded to me like the combination of flexibility, obviously being digitally led, which I think we kind of all agree that's where everything is going at the moment, and having that access, but also underpinned and backed by the service, the frameworks, and the very good work that Probrand have been known for years. It's making quite a compelling proposition, and I understand also winning accolades as a result.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's an important point, really. I mean, we've got we've gained some significant accreditations, in recent years to really, back up the solution and what we say we do. We're accredited by SIPS, which is massive from a procurement point of view. And again, I guess goes back to the point of, why this is such a great proposition, certainly for large corporate enterprise organizations, because their procurement teams are likely to be SIPS people. They're going to be very focused around a specific code of conduct they follow from a governance point of view and things like this. So we are the only IT procurement platform to be accredited by SIPS. Again, that's where a lot of the work comes from that we do with SIPS in the background, in terms of educating SIPS people and in terms of how to buy IT more efficiently and so on. I think the other one to mention as well will be ICAEW, so Institute of Chartered Accountants. So we are, again, the only IT procurement platform to be accredited by them, which is a real rubber stamp to really prove that, again, what we say we do certainly from a financial point of view. So I have the pleasure of doing the audit with the ICAEW. So they they'll come into our premises roughly about every 6 months, and I'll spend 2 or 3 days in a room with an ICAEW auditor, and they literally turn our solution inside out. So for example, if we have a contractual agreement with a customer and we say, right, we've got a cost plus 3 agreement or something with a customer, they'll prove that it is a cost plus 3 agreement, and we're not hiding things behind the scenes or those kinds of things. It's a genuine agreement. The other thing that they do, which is really important as well, is that they actually do a lot of benchmarking actually of our platform versus other traditional e-com tools. So in terms of this best value sort of approach, so they'll take a price from our platform, and they'll go and look on a lot of competitors' e-com platforms and do a benchmark to prove that in the majority of instances we are the lowest cost, and that's what that whole accreditation really proves, and it gives a whole wraparound, and that sort of, again, that trust factor to business buyers that they're buying through an accredited platform and so on. So yeah, really important, really. So.
Yeah, I'd shout 2 others up as well, which we've won historically. One would be Queen's Award for Enterprise Innovation, which of course we did a huge event, and we had the Duke come along and do the presentations, which is absolutely fantastic. Were you even there for that, Kevin? I don't know, you might have even come along on the day, I can't remember. But there was that. And then the other one was an award from an organization called Sharp Ahead, which is a digital business, and what they did was they created a digital maturity index. We actually came out as a high flyer right at the very top of that, ahead of all of our competitors and a whole bunch of other businesses as well. So that's a mark of accreditation, the fact that we continue to invest in our development. Of course, we've got our development partners, sister business in Mercato Solutions, and that gives us the agility both to deliver more solutions for Probrand, but also our customers, as we were talking about before. So I'd shout up those 2 other awards as well.
Yeah, and they're great points, actually. I mean, especially the digital maturity ones is new on me, actually. It's not one I've heard of before, not covered it. But I think in terms of where businesses are going, to have that, I imagine that covers lots around how you manage your data, what you do with your data, how it's processed, and then how ready you are to deliver on the capabilities.
Yeah, it's a digital maturity index, and it considers all of the things that you mentioned there, plus things like digital marketing elements, how you're engaging your customers, how you're acquiring them, all those kind of good things. as well, naturally, as well as the functionality of the platform. In the context, the wider context of us all existing in this digital world, where we're all buying online, or at least spending 70% of the journey researching online before then engaging, via email or phone or whatever else it might be,
And I haven't asked the question, so I hope this isn't a curveball, but the platform itself, is it supported across all devices?
Great question. Go on.
Yeah, Ian. It's absolutely been designed in that way, and certainly from a point of view of integration as well, is that I think Matt touched on earlier, it can integrate into effectively any ERP system, and I think that probably goes back to my point in terms of how it's been designed from ground up, is that in terms of the customization of it, it can change and adapt to, as technology advances and ERP systems advance and things like that. We can shift the platform very, very quickly and easily to to be compatible and adapt to any kind of environment, really. So, but yeah, it's we from a compatibility perspective, you can access it from any URL, and it's a username and password to access it. So it's a lockdown platform from that perspective, because we have to encourage buyers to log in, because that's how they get a personalized experience. Yeah. We can't give them a personalized experience unless we know who they are. So so they have a username and password, they go on a URL, they can access it from anywhere at any time, really. So yeah.
Great. So I guess we've probably covered quite a lot on the supply and on the buy and the supply side from a customer perspective. Obviously, suppliers have frustrations in the market at the moment as well, certainly under the current circumstances where, it's not easy for them to take product to market. So how does this address maybe some of the suppliers' frustrations?
Yeah, it's a great question, and that's part of our USP as well, opening up that supply side to the buyers, and overcoming those challenges and problems and frustrations that the buy side has. And ultimately, when we did our research, that was all around the inefficiency of the supply chain, which was restricting growth and opportunity for suppliers, for disties and vendors. Poor visibility of end users was a mainstay frustration that people had. Poor performance from marketing funds, gatekeepers, particularly in the form of resellers, preventing or withholding these deals that we talked about before, these special discounts and special bids and all that kind of good stuff actually being passed through to the end user community. And then another key frustration was around outdated data, particularly around price and stock, which in this conversation we've talked about extensively. So all of those frustrations, we solve all of those by openly connecting people in a platform, a true platform business-based mentality, giving people that data or the facilities to update data in real time methodology, as Ian mentioned before. And going forward, we're going to be doing a lot more working with our suppliers to enhance that open level of communication with the IT end user community in a structured platform-based mentality. Opening up more opportunity for people to undertake and manage their own marketing, opening up the opportunity for communication of deals and discounts that people like yourselves want to communicate to the end user brigade. So so that in particular is a big focus area going forward as well on the supply side.
Yeah, I think we've certainly what I've recognized sort of post-pandemic, the last couple of years, is that certainly from a vendor point of view in the supply chain, there's a lot of challenges there with vendors want to engage with end users. They want to get in front of customers. They want to talk about their products and showcase their products and message and all these kinds of things. And I think it's probably fair to say there's been a massive challenge in that over the last couple of years, because people are working at home and working in different places, all these kind of things. It's just not as easy anymore for a vendor to walk into a customer and have a meeting and those kinds of things. It's very, very different now. And there's a lot of vendor representatives are probably homeworking themselves and things like this. And so we recognise a number of challenges like that. So we're right in the weeds at the moment of looking at how we can enable the supply chain to engage with those customers through our platform. So we've got a whole bunch of really exciting features and function that we're going to come to market with. So obviously we've put significant amount of our focus over the years on the customer, which I think is absolutely the right thing to do. But we're now starting to focus quite a bit on the upward into the vendor community now, across the platform, and really solidify and bring those two things together. That's going to be some really exciting things that are going to happen there. That's equally obviously going to give a lot of value to customers, because it's going to allow customers to engage with vendors. If they're considering, switching brands or starting to consider other technologies and things like that, we're going to give them a mechanic that they will be able to do that really quickly and easily. So we've got some exciting things to come, which I think will definitely be resolving a lot of supplier frustrations, but at the same time add even more value to the end customer community. So
yeah, and I guess from my side, just kind of listening intently, certainly from the supply side, in terms of vendor and in terms of what it is that distribution partners are looking for, in terms of that engagement, in terms of those growth opportunities, it seems like that's a really compelling value upstream, and being able to take the needs and wants of the customers down at the end user level all the way back to the vendor and have them engage. Because, as you rightly say, that unfortunately that's not been possible over the last 2 or 3 years, but is something that all of us are tasked with, and all of us want to have influence on those decisions that customers are making. They're going to make a difference to their business. So I think for me, that it sounds like the future of marketplace is coming together nicely, and very much being about a trusted advisor across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, but I think it's always evolving. It's never going to be a finished product, and we're always listening to customer feedback, supplier feedback, and we'll continue to develop the platform and add features and function in there that's to shift with the way that the market is going, and as I say, it's been designed in that way that we can very quickly adapt to those sort of changes. So we've got a lot of things to come down the road, but yeah, it's exciting times, really. I think, as I say, the world is, we're in a digital space. Over the last couple of years, we've seen a phenomenal growth in e-commerce, and yeah, we've definitely seen a significant ramp up in the number of business end customers that just want to take that consumer sort of lifestyle of e-com into their business world, and start to do things more digitally. So we're really excited that we're at the forefront of that. So
that sounds great. And so we'll break it into two areas: from a customer perspective, or for organizations that have maybe listened to us today and are interested to find out more about marketplace, what are the steps that they should take?
So they can absolutely log on to our website, and it's free to register. They can do that very quickly and easily. And if they want to get started straight away, they can go on to marketplace.probrand.co.uk, and as I say, they can register on there. It literally takes 30 seconds, and they'll have instant access, and we'll profile them behind the scenes. Equally, probrand.co.uk is our main website, and get all of our contact information on there about everything we do as a business, all the things we touched on from a service and solutions point of view, and managed services and all that kind of good stuff that we do as well. That equally has got the direct links into our digital platform. So yeah, and all the main contact numbers are all in there for us as well. So
great. And would the advice be there, even if it's something they're not considering at the moment, log on, have a go, look around the platform, take the bits you like, have a conversation, and then actually maybe start doing some comparisons?
Yeah, absolutely. But but we'd certainly encourage customers to pick up the phone and speak to us as well if they've got questions or queries, or anything that they want to they want to achieve from a digital perspective. We love those kinds of conversations with customers. We work very much on a consultative basis. That's kind of who we are and how we operate. So if there's anything customers want to flesh out from a digital point of view, then pick up the phone and speak to us about that as well, really.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that as well. If people go to our website, they can also log on and register for the various newsletters, the advisory piece we were talking about earlier. We do videos with Ian around, latest supply chain insights and all that kind of good stuff. So, people might not necessarily want to purchase anything right now and have a go and have a play, but they can certainly get some good trusted advice through those channels.
Yeah, I think that's really important, especially considering I think we all probably agree that it's not easing over the next 6 to 12 months. Hopefully 6 months rather than 12 months, but for the next 6 months at least, the landscape's not going to change. And I know, because I've seen firsthand the information you do publish, it's a very high quality. Worst case, they're going to learn something that's going to help them make a better buying decision, right?
Yeah, exactly. And as Ian said, we've actually got an Ask Ian handle where people can actually send an email straight into Ian, and you might even get a personalised response from him if you're lucky.
There you go.
That is a very dangerous subject to be broaching on a live podcast. Who knows what you'll end up with?
I don't know what I'm going to get now in the next. We'll see what my inbox looks like.
Brilliant.
And then for slightly selfishly, for vendors and distributors that are looking to engage with you on the platform, obviously you said the future is you're going to be working closer. What's the advice there if we are interested in speaking to you about what we could be doing to help your customers on the platform?
Yeah, well, we've got a dedicated supply chain team, obviously that I look after internally, that are absolutely focused around our digital propositions. So we've got a team of category specialists and they're the guys that we can align our distribution partners with in terms of making sure that that we've got your right product sets and all the strategic marketing and all that kind of good stuff that we want to educate customers about through our platform. So we've got a dedicated team of resource that's there to support with that. Equally, we've got there's a become a supplier section on the platform as well. We do get quite a lot actually of suppliers that register on there. But we're it's probably important for me to say actually that we're quite strict in terms of the criteria of the suppliers that we allow to connect into the platform. And that's one of the reasons why we have that SIPS accreditation, is because the level of governance we go through from a supply chain perspective, because we only allow authorized suppliers to feed into that platform. We don't connect with grey market brokers, sub-distribution channels, all those kinds of things. We only want authorized IT distributors to connect into that platform. So we go through a bunch of governance checks as well, but we've got a dedicated team internally that looks after those kinds of things, and that is backed up as well by data management team as well. So if you've got the latest product range from one of your vendors, then we've got the capacity internally where we can very quickly make sure all of that content is live on the site as quickly as we possibly can. So from a road mapping point of view, we've got the latest and greatest sort of catalog on there. So,
well, I think they're important parts. A, being first to market, so the customers are getting access to the latest and greatest as soon as physically possible. But B, also, I think, as you said, that authorized link to make sure that the product that they're getting is accounted for and in line with all the frameworks that you're on and all the accreditations that you do have. And maybe that's not something that people speak about enough, but we see it firsthand. The impact it can have by not going through those channels later down the line when you are let down because you've ended up in a situation where perhaps you bought from places that you were expecting to be a type of product and it wasn't.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of we've seen a lot of horror stories out there of businesses going and buying off other e-com sites, and they've been stung with European stock or a whole bunch of different things, some crazy stuff that goes on out there. But yeah, we eradicate those problems by going through those governance steps that we do. So
So what I'll do, once we've wrapped up here, we will put some links on the podcast to the various areas that we talked about around the marketplace, around the services, around the framework that you're on. So if anybody is interested, I think, having listened to what we've spoken about to learn more, they will be linked to the podcast underneath. So I guess in summary, clearly you're a digitally led business. You've obviously spent a lot of time on innovation in that space. If we're going to sum up to everybody listening, well, you know, what are the three main areas for Probrand that people should really be paying attention to?
Do you want to take that one, Matt, or do you me? Or
thanks very much, Ian. Yeah, I'll try. That's a hammer of a question.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of what we're up to, so fundamentally innovation. Yeah, you talked about it there, and secondly, services, and to just add to what Ian was saying earlier, where we're seeing changes in what people are buying and where our innovation is really driving, is commoditizing and utilitizing how people can buy services. So go online, configure and manage firewall, drop it into a basket and buy it. We're seeing that commoditization in the same way that we've got hardware and software commoditized and cloud as well. So we're seeing that being a big growth area. And I guess the third area really would be around the supply side, which is what we were talking about before. Really showing a lot of the supply side, the disti, the vendor community, a lot more love to enable those guys to really overcome their problems, which, as we said before, is really going to serve the customer much, much better in a digital light, which is, you know, that's really what it's all about, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think on that, I'd like to thank you both for joining us today. I think it's a thoroughly engaging conversation. I think there's lots of innovation clearly happening there. We will, as I say, list all the various areas that people can read more about what Probrand are doing and how they're delivering that. So from my side, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure talking to you both.
Yeah, and, thank you.
I look forward to meeting you both very soon.
Yeah, great. No, thanks for having us.
Thanks for that.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, chaps.
Cheers.
Thanks.